Do you ever feel stuck, like you're living your life on autopilot? Are you ready to shift into high gear and reach the success you so richly deserve? Welcome to the Play Big Movement podcast. I am your host, Sharon Lechter, entrepreneur, business strategist, and best-selling author. Playing big is not about settling for good enough or being comfortable. It is about reaching your highest potential and achieving your greatest success. Join me in my Play Big movement as I interview top experts in business, money, and entrepreneurship, all ready to serve you and to help you play big, be number one in your field, live your legacy, and create maximum impact. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast with Sharon Lechter. And I'm excited to have a returning guest today because he is not just a guest, but a dear, dear friend. Don Green is the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And we've known each other probably for over 15 years. And I've had the pleasure of working with him and supporting the messages of Napoleon Hill for 12 years. I still had the message, Don. I don't know if you know that. On March 20th, 2008, you called me and left a message for me to return the call. And that was when you were asking me to step in and help with 3 Feet from Gold. It was March 20th, 2008, a day that changed the rest of my life. And I'm just so thrilled and honored with our relationship. So thank you for being with us today.
Well, Sharon, my pleasure. I admire you guys that are out there and the social media and the following and so forth that y'all have. I said, I have my tech ability is I can send an email and so forth. And being honest with you, I don't even want to learn much more than what I already know, because I think it would mess up my creativity. I would get involved in that, and I wouldn't have time for the other material because. And I can tell you a little short story. My wife's dad was 85, and he was going to check on his little farm, and a girl to college pulled out in front of him on a 4-lane. And what's him? He's worried about the little girl. And of course, she was okay, but he ended up in the hospital, broke his back. I don't know what all it done to him, but he ended up on dialysis. So my wife, she had always volunteered. So we're out eating one weekend, and we're sitting there, and I'm eating. She's carrying on conversation with the ladies at the next table because she had worked with them. And one of them says to my wife, "We know they sold the bank." I said, "Now what's Don working at?" And of course, I'd come to the foundation from one Friday to Monday. And she said, "Let me tell you about Don. Don's never worked at nothing." Said he always gets somebody to do it for him. And of course, I think she's wanting to be funny, but I took it as a compliment. That and the ability to work with other people like you and Greg. I mean, to me, it's a blessing. I said, yeah, I learned some things, I guess, by accident or just because I cared. I know I coming out of the bank one day, and some guy did not know. He said, Mr. Green said, "Does that Nita Sturgill still work for you?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I thought she worked for you after she left the bank, work for you." I said, "Listen, I try to make it nice as I can. I never had nobody work for me." I said, "I work with them." And I said, "It's all the difference in the world. It's we, it's not I." And it goes all the way back to my business in the finance business. I was asked to speak to several hundred people, and I was a young 20-some-year-old, youngest manager in CIT's history. And at a managers meeting in Louisville, Kentucky, the president asked, "Would Don Green come up here?" I'm thinking, oh my God, what have I done? And I never spoken. I've been in a speech class in high school and plays and stuff, but not like this. And I could feel my heart about halfway to the back. I could feel my heart in my chest. So I know where that fear of speaking comes from. To this day, I hardly know what I said because we'd had a contest and we had won it. And of course, I knew we'd won it. And they wanted to know, said, "Don, how did you do it?" And I told him, "Mr. Husband, I didn't do it. We did it together." And they had a contest, and the manager was to get 50% split up among them others. They said that was suggestion. So I got the staff together, and every one of them was older than me, even the girls. And the men, both the men were older than I was. One of them was twice my age. And I told them, I said, now you've seen this catalog. You can get all these goodies, reeling rods, mixers, all these household appliances with so many points. And they've given us a formula how we earn those points by getting new borrowers, get present borrowers, and so forth. And I said, you girls across the front, the four of you, y'all see everybody that comes in the office. We only see a few of them. So it's going to be really on y'all, making sure that nobody gets out of here. You're looking at your card, you know where you can tell if we've put a star on it, it's out, they're eligible for more borrowed money. And I said, that's how we do it. But we are going to split the points up together. We either going to win it together or we're going to lose it together. And that was if he is a secret, that was a secret. It's not having people work for it. And the same thing comes to Sharon. If you go to Angela and tell her, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And when you leave the room, that's what she thinks. Well, let her go ahead. She thinks she's so good. But if you ask Angela, what do you think we could do on this project, whatever, she will probably set a goal higher than what you would. But now she's part of it. That's it. She's part of it. She's bought into it. You can tell them something or another, and then when you turn your head, said, she just don't know how tough this is.
That is so true. I mean, I tell people, I don't like the word employee. I don't like the word staff. I don't like the working for comment. It's team. We're all on the same team, and we're all moving in the same direction. So absolutely.
Yeah. It's not complicated being nice to people. I mean, if people like you, it's amazing what they'll do for you. Now, they may be someone or another would take advantage of you, but if you're working and you got a business and you're scared to death somebody's going to take advantage of you, you're going to be one miserable person. I'm going to assume that I've got good people, and that they're wanting to work with me. I'm going to be good to them as humanly possible. I'm going to give them all what I can. I'm going to do them favors and so forth. And I think people that all in all are nice people. If you go through life thinking everybody's distrustful, that means you are. You can't be trusted if you can't trust others. And it begins with us. You know yourself, everything we are is on the inside. It simply reflects on the outside. And you don't have to have a lot of courses or education. It should just be trying to be a decent human being and doing favors. I just got through talking to
I so value you, and I value working for you. And I think I just want to highlight one phrase. It's not difficult being nice to people. You said it. Let's hear that. It's not difficult being nice to people. And you truly, you walk the talk there, Don. And I'm just so thrilled. You have been the guardian of the Napoleon Hill message since you stepped into that office. Even before that, I know I read it, Think and Grow Rich, when I was 19, and I know you read it very early on. And you actually wrote the foundation early on, and they came and said, "Do you want to join the board?" Tell us that story, how you first got involved.
Well, I said in life sometimes, and I've used it. Sometimes your ship don't come in, but who said you couldn't swim out where it was? So I spoke at a historical society, which was in the Presbyterian church meeting place where I attended church. And two things I remember. It was in Pound, Virginia, where Napoleon Hill was born. And there's two things I remember. One is I didn't get paid. Of course, I was a bank president. The second thing, they didn't feed me. They didn't even have food. I mean, that's really, and of course, I've supported them since then, their historical society. But I talked about that, and I remember that at the end, there's about 20 people. This lady comes up, and she's got this picture of a guy in uniform. She said, "This is my brother." And of course, I recognized it. It was Gary Francis Powers. He's the guy that got shot down over Russia when started the Cold War, when flying the U-2 thing, and end up in Soviet prisons. But I talked about him, and I listened to a cassette over and back, and it was of Mr. Stone. And when I got home, I took my yellow pad on my nightstand, and I wrote them a letter and told them what I had done. And I got Anita to type it and send it out. And I got a nice letter back from Mr. Stone inviting me to dinner with the trustees in Chicago. And man, I thought I was thrilled to death. And I wait till he sat down so I can sit down beside of him, so I get a chance to say something to him. He eat his dessert and mine too. I was telling my wife about it, but she said, well, he shouldn't have done that. I said, if you live to be 90, you ought to be there what you want to. He was, I think, in his 80s, and he'll be 100. But anyway, he said, we eat, we talk. And he called me boy. He said, boy, you know more about these books than I do. He said, you ought to be on our board of directors. And I said, Mr. Stone, what do I have to do? He said, you just attend the meetings and keep up with it, and you'll get reports and so forth. And so that's how it started. I mean, 350 million people in the United States, and I end up with this so-called college job. One of them said, Don loves you so good, I think he'd do it if he wasn't getting paid. And I said, just don't try it. But it's just been an absolutely wonderful experience. There's two things, Sharon, about it is priceless. One is all these young people we've helped. I think I'm helping about 60 some kids this year go to school. I don't count them, but I think it's in that neighborhood, maybe more. But the second is I would never meet people like you. I mean, I developed lifelong friendship, not just somebody, well, you spoke to them, went on, yeah, that was Sharon Lechter, and then go on. I mean, it's people, it's dear friends, for the rest of your life. And it basically, if you use one word, you can just say priceless. I can't think of nothing else that you could put on it. So things that we do open up opportunity that we might not see at the time, what the benefit of it is. But Hill, in some of his audios, and I know you've heard him, he said, how many times does on the average do people try something or another before they quit? And they would holler, some would say 1, 2, 3, 5. No, he said, I said the average. The average is less than 1, because most people don't even start. And you've heard he'd say ideas in themselves are worthless, absolutely worthless. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if you don't have the nerve and the persistence and take the time and plan and stick with it, they were simply wasted. And most people, you did that book on the Outwit the Devil, and it's the one word. It's FEAR. When you and I read Think and Grow Rich, I've had people say it, what's it about? Well, it's about action, because it appears in the book 77 times. But there's another little 4-letter word is in our 73 times, which is fear. Fear is a 1 4-letter word that holds more people back than anything could be imagined. And they've got a list of them a mile long. Somebody's looking at them. They're going to make fun of them when they fail. You should never try that. Are you crazy? What makes you think you can do this? And on and on and on. And they talk herself out of it, rather than saying, this I'm going to do, this I'm going to do, and do self talk to themselves, which that's bit on auto suggestion, which the most important conversations in your life is the ones you have yourself. If I would say, Sharon, you can't write no book, Think and Grow Rich for women. I mean, what makes you think you got the quality to do that? And now you can say, well, Don, he don't know what he's talking about. I'll show him. Well, are the books behind you? And for those people listening, I think, to me, it's delightful, but it's also funny. We sell the rights to Penguin Random House to publish a book, but we keep the foreign rights. And we immediately contact the foreign publishers. The first foreign publisher that paid us for the book was Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and amazing.
And I think you and the foundation, I think we have a little bit of credit for helping those people, because since we've started doing a book, and I think we'd like to be a little bit a part of it, they can now drive their own cars. They can now attend sporting events. Now, to these ladies over here in this country, it might not be a big deal, but if you've grown up in Saudi Arabia and your family is basically wealthy and so forth, and you can't even drive a car, the lady, I can't remember the name of the book, but the lady that was married to also bin Laden's brother, she's in the States now, and I saw her on, I believe, book something or other, but she wrote a book. But she said they had to get permission because they were in the big money. I think was Bin Laden was worth like $200 million when he died, and they were in the oil money. But they had to get permission from them to get married. And she said when they came to pick her up to get married was in a limousine. She was not allowed to ride in the front seat with her husband. She had to ride in the back seat when they were going to get married. So that might not seem like a big deal, but I guess I'm an optimist. I think there's hope in the world, and that's the reason it's not what we're going to talk about. But I've wrote a book, and I'm going to publish it next year, and I've got a page at the front, and somebody may go out there and do it. That'd be another, and that's fine. It says this book is dedicated to the women of the world who've been unappreciated for too long. That's the opening.
You've been a huge champion of women all your life, and I can't tell you how much it means to me. I mean, to step in and we talk about fear. When I made the decision to leave Rich Dad, I had no idea what was in my future. I got the call from President Bush to be on the President Advisory Council, which was hugely humbling and honoring. But to get that call from you to help step in during the economic crisis and write 3 Feet from Gold, then Outwitting the Devil, then Think and Grow Rich for Women, then Success is Something Greater. It's been such a gift to me to be involved and to know that I've had a small part in helping people take control of that fear, particularly with the huge success of Outwitting the Devil. And it just continues. I mean, the dedication that you showed on. And I'm so thrilled with your new book. And that's what we want to talk about now, because finally, you've got your book out, and it's about Napoleon Hill as your mentor, and it's your story, son of a coal miner. So tell us a little bit about the book, because I know it's coming out in January. So I want everybody to order it. But show us the picture of the cover, and tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, I wrote about the family, and all the family be thrilled to death because my mom and dad are no longer with me. They're product of depression. One of the memories I have from childhood. The coal miner's son was. My dad got hurt in the mines, and I hear him tell the story many, many times. And of course, you had a company doctor until a coal company doctor said, you go back to work, you couldn't go back to work. He was making $6 a day, which is big money. And but he could draw $15 a week. They call it workman's comp. In other words, he's on crutches. And someone in the family, and you've heard of the musician Ralph Stanley was in a George Clooney movie, old brother. Okay, well, Stanleys were kin on my dad's side, and one of them had trucks, big old coal trucks, and dual wheels and a whole bit. And my dad got a job with him. My dad drive a truck for $5 a day. Okay, not hardly as much as making in the mines, but Dad wasn't satisfied with. He never drew compensation, and I remember of one morning in particular, I watched Mom and Dad go towards the truck. He brought the truck home with him. And now he's on crutches, and she's following behind him and got his lunch. He gets to the truck and gets a hold of the truck thing to pull up and hands her the crutches. He pulls himself up in the truck and gets in it. Then she hands him his crutches. Then she hands him his lunch. I never thought about it or nothing at the time. But what in the world did he do? But during the day, I mean, I seen he had his food, but getting out and go to the bathroom and so forth, see, it never dawned on me. But that was a work ethic. That lots of people that had suffered through the Depression. I mean, in my mom's side, 16 kids. Her mom died when she was about 8 years old. Her dad never remarried. But the boys that were 13 and 14 years old, they went to work in the coal mines at $3 or $4 a day to help the family, to help the younger ones out. And gosh, one of them in particular, I told Clint's story in one of the books. He never had no kids, but when I got in banking, he got a touch with me, and I handled it. He'd made some money. I mean, he'd made money, but he had never spent money, and I handled his investments. And to make a long story short, he lived to be 92 or 93. And he had more than $1 million and much more. And I kept telling him, I said, Clint, you'll still have to give some of this money away. At the time, the state of Virginia was 600,000. Above 600,000, they grabbed a good portion of it. I said, we got to hold it down under that. And they said, well, what do we do? And I said, well, you need a will to start with. Well, that costs money, don't it? I said, no, I got a friend here at the bank. I said, no, board. I said, Bill, he'll do it for you, and I'll take care of it. There won't be no cost to it. So I made it real simple. Everything went to him if she died first. Everything went to her if he died first. Made it simple. And of course, she died, and he was much easier to deal with. She died first. And then I got him in there one day, and I met with him. On Wednesdays and took them to lunch, which is about 3 hours. Bought them a club sandwich, and they eat one or two parts of it. Got the other to go home. Never been nowhere in their life. My mom and dad took them to Nashville one time, the Grand Ole Opry, and they died talking about that. But she fixed people's lunches for them when government had a construction job building a dam, and they rented some of their rooms to them for a couple bucks a night. And old man, they were tickled to death that because they were on suspensions. They were probably getting a little more than that, so they were pocketing some money. But they accumulated the money, and I think he told me once he got up to I think he said maybe $12 a day before he retired from the mines. But on one day he said, "Yeah, I need to give some money away." You said, "Yeah." He said, "How much?" And I said, "Well, you could start off and give about 500,000 to the college." Now he's never been here, and he went through third grade. And I wrote the check. I filled it out, and he signed it. But then they talked about Heart Association and local cancer centers, or but numerous ones of them got 100,000 apiece. And then the church, and then I got down to his real estate, and they lived in it for about 70 years. The house, they had little dogs, and it was not in good shape. So I gave it to the town. They tore it down. They put a huddle house on it, so it gives some jobs. And it was just an absolute delight to see that someone could, because he got to Clinton Lambert scholarship, and his name's up on in the Convocation Center as a person that's contributed excess of $500,000 to the college. But when I told my mom about handling it, see, nobody had no idea how much money he had. And Mom said, "Well, I guess you divide the money up the best you could." I said, "Well, it's under their instructions." I said, "I got a list from the attorney. There were 43 potential heirs. In other words, he had 16 that were in it, but about half of them were dead. So if there'd been no will, they would have got a portion, and all those people that did, their 5 or 6 kids would, you know how it goes. You've been a CPA, would have got a portion. So that would have been almost an impossibility." And Mom said, "Well, that sounds like Clint." She said, "I never will forget." Said, "Of course, he's older than I am." She said, "But he went to work and said he would not get married to." When Mom died, said he would not. She owed a $300 hospital bill, and he wouldn't get married till he worked off that $300 hospital bill. His mother's. He thought that he's the one that wasn't married. He should be the one that paid it. But she said the girls also remembered. She said he bought us our first silk panties. Of course, their clothes are homemade, made out of chop sacks, out of cloth. And to girl, then she said, "Listen, to get a girl 10 years old, get a pair of silk panties never had in her life. Believe me, that was like heaven to them." And so some of the qualities, I guess, handed down, and one of my favorites is my mom said, and I tell people that today, if I tell Sharon I'm going to do something of it. Mom says, "You tell somebody you're going to do something, you just be sure that you do what you said you was going to do, or don't tell them if you're not going to. If you tell someone you're going to do something, be sure you don't." And that's what I told Polly. I sent Polly a couple of books, and he wired me $100,000. He said, still calling me Mr. Don. "Mr. Don, you said you was going to send me them books," and said, "When I come back from Thailand and North Korea," he named off all these countries, it'd been in several weeks. I didn't write it down. Never expected to hear from him. And I said, "Polly, my mom told me if you tell somebody, I told you if you give me your address, I would send you them 2 books that Mr. Stone had wrote, because he had mentioned Stone, and he wrote Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude." And by the way, yesterday I got a $3,900 check royalty on that book from Simon Schuster. That was 1960. That's 60 years. How many books out there are 60 years old as paying royalties? Yes. You can't even find the book. Yes. And Thinking Rich from Heaven, Outwitting the Devil, and other books will be the same way. But I use you for a lot of examples. I never told you that, but I'll tell you today. Everybody in the world wants to publish a book. You know that. What they want to publish a book, they think they wrote the book. That's the easiest thing on earth. The hardest thing in the world, quoting one of them authors, is to sell the book. And I said, Sharon Lechter, for example, she started Rich Dad, Poor Dad. She printed them herself. Nobody wanted it. And she loaded them down in her car and she sold them everywhere she could. And then the publisher got a hold of them. And that's it. But it took a lot of work. It's not that somebody just lines up and says,
24/7. Yeah, 24/7 promotion. Most people think they write it and they will sell. No, you got to promote them. Yep.
I don't know about this year or last year. There were 300 and some thousand new books printed. And the average book sold a couple hundred copies.
That's right.
Most of them that people have done them self-published. They're stacked up in the closet somewhere or another. They can't give them away. But once you get like where you are, people contact you. You don't have to contact. People's contacting me and proposing things for you. I mean, they called me, St. Martin's Press called me, and the editor did, said, could I write a little book on the money bit of it? And they called me after it's done. Of course, I let Bobby edit it. And he said, we didn't have to do nothing to it. He said, well, you laid it out and all like that. And said, how come you do it? And I said, well, it just seemed natural to me. I don't know. I just, that's what it is. And it's been accepted really well. But it's really nice to get in a place like where you are, where people say, Sharon, could we something we could do a project together? When before you could beg and it wasn't getting nowhere. But that's one of the rewards you did for your career. Have you established yourself?
And that's what the publisher did with you, Don. The name of the book is?
It's Napoleon Hill My Mentor by Don Green. Left my initial out of it, which is okay. But it's a hardcover, and it's a audio book in my voice, and it's also an ebook. I think the audio book is. I bought the audio book myself for the had sent it to me, but I haven't listened to it. I didn't have a chance to listen to it.
I am so thrilled and honored to be able to highlight you and to promote you in this new book, because I think it's fantastic. And I want to encourage everybody to go to your local bookstore, to go to Amazon and get the, My Mentor, Napoleon Hill by Don Green, because Don always has been kind of pushing out everybody else, promoting everybody else, promoting Napoleon Hill, seldom stands in his own light. And this is something that I'm proud of, and I want to support you, Don. And you're going to hang in with me for a second interview for the private Facebook group. So for those of you watching and listening, if you have not joined the group, please go to it. It's free. It's called The Play Big Movement with Sharon Lechter. We talk a little bit more personal. Don's going to share his personal habits that he attributes his success to. But if you want to get in touch with him, naphill.org is the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And they have tremendous resources, many of them free. They have newsletters, have daily messaging that you can get. And I just really appreciate you, Don, for being with me today. And any last words of encouragement for our viewers before we say goodbye?
Well, Sharon, I appreciate you. You know that we grew up being told, build a better mousetrap and there'd be the path you door. They won't know it if you don't tell them you got the mousetrap. And the selling it and promotion it. Not only that is try to develop a relationship for other people. My neighbor posted a thing on this on me, and I said you couldn't have paid somebody to write the thing. I've heard about it from everywhere about my neighbor, because I give books to little kids as they grown up, and now they're both of them up in high school, and I had done little favors for them, like she runs a charity that feeds poor people and so forth and done things. But the things that you can get people to do for you it will greatly exceed what you could do for yourself. Golly, they put me in here with all these books and stuff like that, and I can't type and can almost do nothing. I hired Zane in the 8th grade because his mom taught computer science, and his sister worked for me 6 years, valedictorian, goes on that makes a B in her whole lifetime, and finishes college in 3 years. Now she's a pharmacist, and Zane wanted to say, I want to work for Don. Sissy work for Don. Why can't I work for Don? I told his grandmother, tell his mom to get him a work permit the week he turns 14. I can't put him to work in Virginia. I get in trouble. And so I started him out at $10 an hour in 8th grade. He knows more about it, and he come to work on about the computers and all I did because his mom taught it. And the kids grow up on that material.
And he's still working with you many, many years later. It's kind of like Angela. I hired her as an intern out of college, and 20 years later, she's now basically running the organization. So I'm so proud of her. And I know Zane is so.
Oh yeah. I mean, the good or bad, it rubs off on him. Zane's been 25 and he's worked here 11 years. I mean, he got married when he was about 21 and bought his house. He started college at 17. I know you'd be proud of being a CPA. I had already showed him he had a stock account and it was Scotch Trade, I guess it was, and buying stock. And he also had a Roth IRA. I mean, when the kid starts in college, his mom said, she asked him one day, said, Zane, are you enjoying the economics class? Yeah. He's real quiet. You've been around, you know. And he said, what did y'all talk about today? He said, well, he talked about buying stock and so forth. And she said, did you tell him that you had your own stock account? No. He said, no, but I smiled.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So hang in there, Don. I want to get some more of your brilliance for our private group, but I just so appreciate you being with me. And I so am honored by your friendship. And everybody watching and listening, rewind this and re-listen, because just incredible pearls of wisdom from Don about your teammates, not people working for you, working with you. It's not hard to be kind. It's just incredible, the pearls of wisdom that he has shared today. And so make sure you join the private Facebook group, because we'll be back with more from Don Green. Thank you, Don. Hold on with us for a second.
Thank you, Sharon. It is my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast. Please subscribe to iTunes and leave us a review, as well as join us in other areas of social media, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Sharon Lechter, and for Facebook, author Sharon Lechter. Thank you so much and have a fabulous day.